Welcome back. Welcome back to Through the Keyhole with Lloyd Grossman, the Sherlock Holmes of the unlocked home. So let's join Lloyd right now at house number 2 as we go through the keyhole.
Even without the rugged stone thistle and the broken pediment over this doorway, you'd probably recognize this house as being Scottish. Although it was built in 1938 by the great architect Sir Basil Spence, it's a brilliant reinterpretation of 17th century Scottish domestic architecture with big, heavy rendered walls and massive stone window surrounds. When you come into the house, there's this vast hall which runs all the way from one end of the house to the other. It's sort of like a bowling alley. On the walls, there's plenty of evidence of a love of the countryside. Endless pastoral pursuits. There are eager gun dogs, for example. There are cattle drinking in a cool stream. And, of course, there are picturesque views. As in a lot of architect design houses, this house has fabulous detailing, like these doors and door cases made out of solid Oregon pine. There's a big Scottish stone fireplace here and loads of Scottish motifs. There are thistles on the andirons and a big thistle on the fireback. I'm very fond of this thing. It's the ideal putter for a golfer with a weak grip. Now, everywhere you look in this room, there are signs of great socializing and conviviality. Lots of figurines depicting either carousing or canoodling, for example. And there's plenty of seating as well, so I can picture this room being a great setting for vivid and lively conversations. Now, these people love outdoor pursuits. Look at all these country sports magazines. So these people like activities and they prefer them to be outdoors. But basically, this room is for entertaining. That sideboard is absolutely groaning with decanters. There are mucho decanters in the dining room as well. Now, no one could possibly afford or indeed want to buy so many decanters, so perhaps these folks get given them for some reason. Now, this room is very formal. Everything is rather symmetrically arranged. There's a pair of gilt cherubic candlesticks on the table. There's a pair of classical busts flanking the fireplace. Even the condiments are laid out with military precision, so they go in for rather puckered dining in this room. Now, there's a big carver at either end of the table, so there are probably 2 strong personalities in this house. There's a remarkably cosmopolitan collection of cookbooks here. After all, how many families have 2 Scandinavian cookbooks? And I see they like the food of the Mediterranean as well. And that might explain why this kitchen has a slight a year in Provence feel. It's very warm and welcoming with lots of dried flowers and well-polished copper pans. But there's the designer tartan to bring us back home to Scotland. Now, it seems that this room is really the living room of the house, at least if the sentiments on that sampler are anything to go by. Good grief, there are more decanters here in the bedroom. The things must be breeding. But these do definitely seem as if they're either presents or trophies. Now, this room has quite a French air to it, and it's not just due to the impressionistic style prints on the walls. It's all light and airy and has wonderful floral fabrics. And of course, like other rooms in the house, it benefits from big windows and fabulous views. At first glance, this looks like a frightfully overcrowded guest bedroom. In fact, it's an ingenious Wellington boot rack for an active family. And it's part of this very traditional gun room, which has also been given over to other sports like golf. Let's look at the evidence. The winning glassware, the cosmopolitan cookery, the outdoor life. Who lives in a house like this? David, it's over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, young Lloyd. And now for our home and studio audience, here's whose house it is. Patrick, it's your turn.
It's very difficult. I mean, one can't... I mean, the word Scottish has got to be underlined again and again. But I was just saying to Patty, if I knew he didn't live in Switzerland, it could easily be Jackie Stewart, because there's so much competitive games and sports and everything else. The interesting thing was that there were some cups on the on the floor by the fireplace in the dining room, which looked like prize cups. I mean, trophies. Maybe it, somebody with a sporting interest who's been an achiever.
Patty.
He could have just left them there from last night's cocoa, of course.
No, not those kind of cups.
Oh, sorry.
Like the FA Cup.
Yes, right. Well, they've tied it up, haven't they? It's a bit neat. I mean, crikey, all the sort of country life all neat and all the wellies all neat. And it's the sort of place that if I was invited to dinner, which I wouldn't be, that
Disgrace yourself.
I'd feel as if I'd disgrace myself. Yeah, I'd say the wrong thing, and I'd definitely...
Over the soup.
Over the soup. And I'd definitely feel better, happier in the kitchen. The kitchen was full of life and lovely, and that sort of lovely continental flavour. But I wondered if... I mean, obviously they're Scottish, as he said. Scottish. Scottish, yes.
Well, now, you didn't get a round of applause there, so you try saying they're not Scottish.
Well, they're obviously not Scottish. That was obviously misleading. But I think the big clue, if I said golf, would that be a clue?
Well, and it may be added, you said it beautifully. Willie.
I felt the kitchen was the only safe place in the house. I felt any other of the rooms you could easily be shot. Or hunted down ruthlessly. There was room in that huge hall for horses.
We've got two ideas here, the only golfers we know.
No, the only golfers I photographed a lot of golfers, actually. But the decanters are so interesting. Why on earth so many decanters?
Because he drinks like a fish, possibly.
We don't know why.
We are looking at a huge drinker.
No, because they're all...
A massive, a monumental boozer. A man with a face so bright red and torch across the forehead.
Is that they?
Oh, well done. You'll never get through that keyhole, probably.
Well,
think it's an older
Patty and I, so we definitely think it's a golf. Are we right? Do we think it's a
Yes.
Jacqueline.
We've got lots of...
Jacqueline.
Tony Jacqueline.
You're right. Tony Jacqueline, will you come through the keyhole? That was very good fun, and...
Steady on the feet, I thought.
Where do all the decanters come from?
Accumulated over a long, long time, I fancy. We don't break many, and so they get kept and put in all the guest bedrooms and various places in the house.
Yes. And when Patrick made the opening remark about Jackie Stewart picking one international sportsman, as you see, the international sportsman thing was a very accurate sort of first sighting guess.
It was the sort of country pursuits and the...
well, he loves to shoot, Jackie.
That's right,
well,
and well, he was world champion, wasn't he? And you know, at shooting, apart from motor racing.
And what about the Scottish thing? I mean, I made the point to the panel just so they weren't misled that this fantastic Scottish house and that wonderful vista as Lloyd just seemed to walk and walk and walk there at the beginning. But I mean, what made you choose Scotland at that?
Because I wanted somewhere where I could live quietly in a rural environment. I love the country. I've always loved the country. And I've always enjoyed Scotland. It's the home of golf. I'm right in the midst of some of the great golf courses in the world, within an hour or so of 4 or 5 of them, of the really great ones. But essentially the quiet and serenity of country life. That's what attracted us to Scotland.
Must be very different to Spain, where you lived for years, isn't it? Very different.
Very different, but I'm not playing as much golf as I was, certainly not playing competitively as I was. And so now I've exchanged golf sweaters for Barber jackets and the like. So
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
You
of course
certainly
you
can.
Tony, I've always thought you're a really nice bloke, you know, and you look really good fun and everything, but will you tell me, was it really as tidy as that most of the time?
Well, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, unfortunately, in lots of ways. But you wouldn't, I promise you, Patty, feel uncomfortable at my dinner table. I'd be, and both Astrid and myself would be, God, we would hate to make anybody feel like that. I hope that once you were under the roof for 5 minutes, you would feel that you were able to relax.
Hey, I pulled a dinner. Pulled a free dinner.
And well, we've had two marvellous atmospheric, attractive houses in one show, and we'd love to present you with this, the Through the Keyhole key. Would this go better with a decanter? I don't know. Maybe it would. Anyway, there's the Through the Keyhole key.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much for being with us, Tony. It's been an absolute delight to have Tony Jacklin with us, and to have Cleo and Johnny with us, of course, and to have Willie, Patty, and Patrick with us, and to have you with us. Until the next time, goodbye for now.